Hi everyone, welcome back to round four of the UK Open, and we've got a great match in mind for you today. So this is Gaz Owewn, who is one of the very best players in the country, and he's taking on David Brown, who is ex-UK champion. He's won the UK Open in the past, and I would describe the two as Gaz is a really excellent player, but David is a very fine competitor. So he might not play the absolutely best move, but he plays to win every match and knocks up a very good record on that basis. So it's going to be a very good match, I'm sure. And it looks to me as though Kent Goulding is lined up as one of the commentators. Right, so we're ready to go. So Gaz is on the bottom of the board, and David Brown is at the top. So both of these guys I've known for many years, and Gaz and I had a period when online gaming was permissible, and we both basically made our living at that for quite a while. And I think he was more of a gambler than I was, so I think he ended up being able to put down the deposit on a house through his gambling winnings. So Gaz is there, I can see, and David has gone missing for the moment. So this is round four. So I think at the moment there's probably like 24 undefeated players in the tournament. So just as to where we are, this is round four of the UK Open, and this is the last round for today. So the tournament will resume tomorrow morning about 10:30. And that's not to say this is the stream for today, that there's going to be, I think, some more good matches tonight. So after this game, there's a dinner break and play is set to resume, I think, at 7:30, which is 2.5 hours from now. So there's several doubles tournaments and the super jackpot and the mega jackpot will be going on this evening. So still plenty of action tonight. And I have the evening off, so I will be back with you at 10 tomorrow for rounds five and six. So it looks like the players have arrived. Just waiting for someone to click the right button and they will be spurred into action. So there's the handshake, and David Brown is the one who's wearing the hat, and Gaz is wearing a hat as well. Um, so, as usual in England, the weather is could be better, shall we say? But I still think wearing a hat indoors is a little overcautious. So I was saying after the last match that the first three matches I've commentated on today have been very quick. So they've been three games, 4 games, and 3 games. So I'm really hoping this one is going to go on for a bit longer than 4 games. So they are both very good players, and I think they will do us proud for this match. So as before, it's a 9-point match. So um, each point you have as the lead over your opponent is worth 5 or 6% match winning chances. So if one player wins the first point and they're 1-0 ahead, then they'll be more like 55-45 favourite. And if they win 2 points, they'll be something like 61% to 39% favourite. So at the moment, it's all about how many points lead you have over your opponent. But then when you get to the closing stages of the match, there's much more important things as to the detail as to who's odd away or even away. So Gaz starts with 5-2 and splits. David rolls 2-1 is an average roll. So that's a good play. Sometimes you don't want to come off the midpoint and leave your opponent to some indirect hits after they've split. But here, Gaz's hits, they include 6-4, which is a good roll to make the bar anyway. And double 2 and double 4 will play well no matter what he does. So he's really only giving 6-2 as a hitting number to get this extra builder. So 6-3 makes the 5-point. So already the game's taking shape. So Gaz has escaped one of his back checkers. So he's kind of signaling that he wants to be playing a racing game, whereas David has made his 5-point. So he's looking to do priming or blitzing. So Gaz went for the double hit because he couldn't see anything better. So now he'll look to either point on his opponent or cover the 5-point, cover the 1-point. So this looks like double 4 is a great roll. So one option is just to run the back guy all the way, so 22-6, and hope that he can come home safely. So that's what he's looking at now. And that's not really such a bad plan here, because White's moved both his back checkers up. So Gaz should be able to play safely, and with awkward rolls, he can dump something behind to the 1 or the 2-point. And usually when your opponent's got what they call a goalkeeper on the 24-point, there's a good contact covers the entire board. But here there's a shortened zone of contact. So it's what I call one of the nicest words in backgammon, zonk, is the zone of no contact. The idea that the 1 and 2-point safe places for Gaz to move his checkers. So that's one plan. Another plan would be the normal attacking play of maybe making the 4-point and the 9-point, or maybe just making the 5-point without hitting. So Gaz is rightly taking his time on this. I would just play checker out all the way and taken my chances. And 3-6 he anchors, so that stops the attack in its tracks. So now he's trying to try and guess, so Gaz rolls a 4, so he escapes with a hit in the process. And 5-4 he comes in and plays down. So Gaz has the advantage, and I think he's wondering where he should be doubling. So the blot on the 1-point he has on the 1-point is a bit of a disadvantage. So he's got to save his outfield checker. He's got to cover the blot on the 1-point, and then somewhere along the line he's got to make the 5-point. So I think maybe he needs to do 1 or 2 of these things before he doubles. But Gaz is always an aggressive doubler, and he's always an aggressive taker. So if you want to win against him, you've got to play the game to the end. Right, so 5-3 saves the blot, makes a new blocking point. It's not really a blocking point, it's more a safe landing spot for the checkers on the midpoint. So 6-5 safely evacuates the checker. So what's happened at this stage is Gaz has got his back checkers out, and he's got coming home safely, and he's got a big racing lead. But on the other hand, David has got the anchor on the 3-point, so he's not going to lose the game until Gaz has got lots of his checkers off. So double 5 is half good and half bad. So he's played the good half to the 4-point, but then he's got to lose his spares from the 6-point. So 5s are potentially dangerous for Gaz next time. So he can't play off the 8 point. He's got to break 8 point if he's not going to leave a shot. So that makes it a bit harder for him to clear the 8 point safely. So he's still got 3 landing spots. So any 3-4-6 combination will clear the point safely. So double six is maybe a bit too fast for David. So one option is he can play the back checkers out, but I think he's clearly losing the race. So maybe he moves one of them out and leaves one back to see if he can cause some trouble. Yeah, so moving one out is forced, and now he's assessing whether he wants to leave the other one behind. So there's quite a few pointing numbers, but there's some bad fives, as I was saying before. So 5-4, 5-6, 5-3. Yeah, so I well like this play by David, that the race wasn't much good, so he should look for some hitting opportunities. So if nothing else, by staying back, he's making it harder for Gaz to get into the race efficiently. So if his checker wasn't there, Gaz would just be bringing checkers home badly and starting to bear off. But the white checker on the 22 point is slowing things down for him. So 6-5 is forced play, and David has a chance to hit a 3, which will probably win the game instantly. So he hits, plays the 2 safely. So Gaz is going to need to enter right now, I think, to save the cube. So David sees it the same way. So yes, it's a big pass. I'm sure they're right. So the problem for Gaz is first he has to come in, which is only a 30% chance every time. And even when he comes in, he still needs to roll a 5 or 6 to jump the 4 prime in front of him. So David's formation had 2 advantages. So one, it's a strong board, keeps Gaz on the bar, and the other one is it's a 4 prime that stops him escaping even when he's come in. Right, so Gaz gets a 4-3 to start. So you can either bring down 2 builders from the midpoint, or this play where you split and come down. So David has 6-3, so the right play is to hit off the 4 point. Gaz rolls 6-3, can't hit, so coming out duplicates 4s. So 5-3 can make the 3 point, or he can just point on the 1 point, and I think that's right. So it's not what you'd like to do in the opening, but at least it stops your opponent causing you any problems while he's got to come in. Right, so Gaz has got both the back checkers out, so David knows he has to split against this formation. So he pretty quickly decided to split with the 3. With the 4, when it wasn't clear to me, I would have thought splitting with the 3 was better, but not a great deal of difference between the two. So if Gaz can get into a race, then he'll have the advantage, but he's still got his backward 16 point he's got to clear somehow. And now, as is often the case in holding games, the players spend a lot of time doing nothing, gradually moving the pieces around. So David's looking at this, and this is the obvious play, and I think he just wants to see how far he's ahead in the race if he does it. And he seems confident he's ahead by enough, at least. So Gaz is figuring out how to get the best value from his double 2. David is now doing an audit and trying to see how he stands as far as the race is concerned. So Gaz needs to go 6 pips with his back checkers to get level, and then another 3 checkers to get level to the 8 point. So he's 9 pips behind outside, but he's also quite a few behind inside. So that could have been a double for David. Since he didn't double, then it probably means he was worried about the contact of clearing his midpoint. So David rolled a 20 and Gaz rolled a 12. So David's gained another 8 pips. So now I think it's going to be a double and a big pass. So I did a quick count before they had this exchange of rolls, and I thought David had enough of a lead to double there, aside from possibly the contact. But now I think he's way ahead in the race. So this is double and easy pass, I think. Yeah, so if you just mentally look at how far Gaz has to move with his outfield checkers to get them to a symmetrical position with white, and that he needs kind of like 2 7s and 2 2s and a 1, so he's massively behind in the outfield before you even start looking for the home boards. Right, so that was a point. So David is 3-0 up, so 6 away, 9 away. Gaz has chosen the slotting play, so the 3-point lead is significant. Whether it's the computer figures it's enough to slot with the 5-1, I'm not sure. The double 6 is a great roll. That gives David the edge in this game for the moment. So double 1, Gaz will cover the 5-point, and then he will want to do some splitting play. So I would come up to the 21. I can't really see anything else. But yes, I mean, potentially he could just come up to the 22 and stop there because he's got the direct exit. So 3-1 makes the 5-point is good. So Gaz needs to anchor now. So 6-5 is no good for that respect. So I'm thinking White's probably still got a race lead here because of the double 6 he threw in. The problem with this is there's no good play. So at a level score, I'd certainly be thinking of doubling as White. So does the 3-point lead slow him down? So 6-2, he can come down to the 7-point and then decide whether to play safe or hit. So he's an aggressive player. He hits, no doubt encouraged by the blot at the bottom of the board. So 4-6 hit and cover. That's a brilliant shot. Now that should also be enough to allow Gaz to catch up in the race. I see. So Gaz wants to make the point right, and he does have a 1 at the bottom of the board. Okay, 1-6 is in and out. So again, we've got a mutual holding game. So that's a good shot for David. He wants to get that checker round on top of his prime safely. 3-1. So now Gaz has run out of things to move safely next time. So he's going to either have to make a run for it or give up a point. So I mentioned before this TMP position, as we used to call it, where you've got 7 points and 1 spare. So Gaz has only got the checker on the 5-point to move. So he's thinking about saving a 6, because otherwise, if he rolls a 6 next time, it might be catastrophic. So 6-3 is a bad number, so he can't just play 1 checker down from the midpoint because it would land on the anchor. So that means he's got to give up the 8-point. I don't think he can volunteer a shot when Gaz has got this 4-point board. So double 3, he can't run off the anchor. So 6-3, and either slot again or give up the 6-point to make the 3. So 2 blots in board gives David a chance to play a bit boldly for 1 roll. So he could play 13-3, or he could utilize this opportunity to clear the 18-point. So I'm pretty sure this is right. He wants the contact here. He should be a long way down in the race. So this is good play played by Gaz. He's strengthened his board, and now he's seeing what he wants to do with the 5. So this is a run-off anchor play, and these are some of the hardest plays that even the best players in the world get wrong. So the criteria for this is it's basically a safely bold play. So you're saying, if I get away with it, am I converting to a race I'm winning? And the other thing is to say, how likely are you to get away with it? So how strong is your board compared to your opponent's? So double 4 looks like the perfect reply. So he can hit and cover and then decide what to do with the other 2 4s. Or he could choose not to hit. He could just play 18 to 10 twice. But hitting and covering seems like such a perfect role. At the moment, he's giving 1 6, 4 3, 4 5. So this again is a good play. So Gaz needs to come to hold off you. Yeah, so that looks right. So now the boot's really on the other foot. It's David who's the guy who's got to roll well to avoid leaving shot. Six, 4. Can he run? Doesn't look like it. So he can just clear the 10 points safely. I can't see there's anything wrong with that. And 5 is completely safe. That must be the best play. So 5 2. Gaz can hold on for one more roll. So now he's got a closed board. So any hit is going to win instantly for him. So David's back checker seems to be 12 away, which looks very good. So moving 11 away gives Gaz a winning 6-5 as well as the double 4 and double 6. So there it is. So David's gesturing here that he appreciates how well Gaz was rolling.
Your double 1 was good.
Yeah, we've got to go for it. I can't really do that.
Same shot anyway. Same shot.
Anyway. Yeah, exactly. Your 6-5 was a nice play too.
So Gaz is now having a think whether he's too good to double. So he's got 1 checker on the bar. There's 3 in the outfield with 3 pips to go home. So on the method I was using last time, it's 5% for the 1 checker closed out, plus an extra 2% for each of the 9 pips. So about a quarter of the time he might have got a gamma. But the negative is he did have 1 checker trapped. So if he wants a double 5 and can't move, then David could come in and the game is wide open again. So Gaz is on the score sheet. 2 3. Usually best to split, but there's certainly nothing wrong with this play. So 9 or 10 to hit, 4 2 fills again. Now needs the 5 point, the solid 4 point prime. So 4 3 you can hit will make the bar, so hitting is clearly right. So Gaz has the board strength. David, I imagine, has the race lead after that hit. So Gaz is looking at this play. It's definitely a good play. So one of the 3 things you have to do from the starting position is unstack the heavy points. So you can see Gaz has unstacked his 6 point. He's got some movement with his back checkers, but his midpoint still had 5 on it. So 3 6 again. So yeah, he doesn't want to commit to a 1-3 back game. So this play I call a decoy and diversion. So what you do is you go out to the bar point and you say to your opponent, you have to deal with this blot before you can make an inner board point. And it seems here David can't conveniently deal with it. So I think he should just ignore that and just make the 5 point. So yeah, there's a safe play. He could play 13-10 and 11-6, but that does look very ugly, putting a sixth checker on the 6 point.
God, no idea.
So that's what he's looking at, and he's wondering, can he bring this position home safely without leaving any shots? Because if you make the 5 point, you're then saying that, hold on, he's done something wrong there. Yeah, so I think they're getting back to the right position. Yeah, so that's right. So if you make the 5 point now, you pay one shot, but you're in a much better position to bring the game home if you survive this one shot. And Gaz has still got a gap on the 5 point at the bottom of the board, and David's holding the 17 point, or Gaz's 8 point. So this is a wild play. This can't be right, I don't think. Double five is in and out. Yeah, so there's no other fives. That's the answer to that play. He can't move the 3 point and he can't play off the midpoint. So now David needs to find a way to come home safely so he can make the 11 and the 7. That seems to be the only safe play. So 5-1, well, that's an awkward number. So you can't play off the midpoint if the fives and ones are blocked. So don't think you can come off the anchor. So you've got to play 15-10 and then find the one. So probably 15-9. So that gives him ones in lots of places. And David's still only got a 1 point board with a blot, so he's not going to relish the hitting contest. Yes, Gaz is just wondering if there's a better one. So 5-3, he can hit and cover, but he has to give up the midpoint in the process. So lots of ones will hit here. 2-1, 3-1, 4-1, 5-1, 5-5, 4-6. So he fans. So 2-3 or 1-3. It's 2-3. He'd be hitting. 1-3. He could play two checkers to the 10 point, or he could try making the 5. And now he's leaving 3 blots. So if Gaz comes in now, there could be carnage. So 4-2 comes in, but he can't hit. So this is a difficult formation for David with the 1 point made. It's difficult to bring the game home safely for there. You want to have all your checkers in front of the anchor so you can. Oh, double 5 is a disaster. So now David, I would think of doubling now as white, because it's your opponent's given up his 6 point. How can you possibly win the game? So maybe he's a bit greedy. Just moving the. I think you should make the 4 point now in front of the anchor, and because Gaz's board is permanently, I think you want to look very hard for hitting all this. So I would do 8-4 twice and decide what to do with the rest of the roll. So that leaves a 5 shot, but I don't think Gaz will hit unless he rolls. Well, he's proving me wrong. I was going to say unless he rolled double 5 or 5-3. So Gaz has got the 2-3 back game, so now he wouldn't mind a small check as being sent back. So he's leaving a few blocks around for David to try and avoid. So David sees it differently. He sees that he's putting a checker behind a prime, whereas Gaz sees it that he's getting more time to hold his game together. So should he come up to the 4-point? I think that's the answer here. I think the timing is so bad, you bring the 3 checkers up from the 23 to the 21 and play a 3-4 back game instead of a 2-3 back game. So if you're going that way, you want to get the other guy up to the edge ready to escape. So 5-2, I think now you do hit. So always with these back games, the question is, blue is probably going to get a shot, and the question is what state his board is going to be in when he gets that shot. So sometimes you want your opponent to be playing, so they break their board. But in this position, he doesn't want Gaz to be playing, because the more time Gaz has to play, the more time he has to reconstruct his board. So this concept is called overtiming. So here's the cube, and I thought it's been a big pass for a long time, was my kind of feeling. So maybe he's tempting Gaz into taking this. Gaz is not the man to be fooled. Okay, so 4-1 to David, so he's inching ahead, he's still keeping his lead. So now he's 5 away, so 5 away is a score that Mochi and Michi call a stupid score. So the problem is that the natural progress of many games is you double and you win 2 points and you get to 3 away is not much good for you. So my theory is when you're 5 away, you want to have a gammon threat. So then when you double your opponent, the threat of winning 4 points and taking you to Crawford is enough to get them to pass to give you the 1 point you wanted in the first place. Okay, so 4-2, it's a close decision. The computer usually likes hitting, but there's certainly not much wrong with making the 4-point. 3-5 hits outside, that's perfect. So David's got the edge for the moment. 2-6, he has to come down. So that's unstacking the mid. Playing 8-2 is a move with no future. So 6-3 he hits and saves the blot, maybe. Yeah, so again, David is a natural fluid player. He doesn't like piling checkers up on points. He'd much rather be unstacking the midpoint rather than putting something else on top of it. Right, so if that's his 5, why doesn't he play 8-4? So 5-6, the only 6 is to hit 8-2, and then you must decide what to do with the 5. So he's decided to remake the 8-point. 2-5 hits for sure, or not. I was thinking you must hit here. There's the hitting play. I guess he's got the white blot in his hand. So the alternative, if you make the 20-point and the 4-point, you've got 2 holding points on the 20 and the 18, but generally they're too close together. So McGreal had a phrase he called about the sphere of influence of a point. So he said if you hold the 20-point, then it covers the 6 points in front of it. So all the points going out to the midpoint. But you can see the 18-point covers very much the same ground in a different way. So there's not as much hitting chance from there as you would hope for. So 3-1, probably right. 3-2, so Gaz will enter with the 3 and then decide if he wants to lock up the 20-point or hit again. I think you should hit. He's gone this way. He's a long way behind in the race already. And always useful is, I say, when you hit your opponent, you want to look at the bad six from the bar. So when he enters with 1 6 2 6 3 6 5 6, how can you play that? Can he play it safely, or does he have to expose another blot? So one other motivation behind this attacking play we made last time was that White only had 8 in the zone, so you can see he's had to break the 8 point to have an attack, so his forward position is collapsing very rapidly. So it's all very good, this hitting, but he's only protected by a 2-point board. So 1 entering is forced and 4 is optional. So I would hit on the 4 point here automatically. So the 4 is the number that David needs to cover the 2 point at the top of the board as well. So 5 6, 5 comes in, and the 6 is bad. So you've got to go out to the 14. Seems like the only 6 that's legal. And now Gaz is hoping to do some hitting and covering. So 2 5 covering is, we could do covering or hitting, but not both. So one of those comes out. Five 3. I think you must lock up the 18 point here. That you're in danger of having too many blots and nowhere for them to find refuge. So whatever else you do, I would make the 18 point here and then figure out what else to do. So this is what he does, so he can hit, and that leaves 3 blots, or he can just come round to the 11 point. That leaves 2 blots, but does duplicate 1s. So 4 3 comes in and doesn't hit. Bit useless. 3 2. No, 3 1. Right, so hit and cover. So that solves the problem of the blot on the 2 point for the moment. So 6 again, you can see is not good for David's team. So he does have a good 6, 10 to 4, but it is pretty much burying a checker. So 5 4. I kind of think you make the 20 point here and ask White how on earth he's going to play safely. So 6 4. Can't see a 6. Oh, we've got to play 18 8. Yeah, that's the only way to get a 6. So if you hit with the 4 at the top of the board, your 6 is all blocked. So the backgammon rules say if you can move both numbers, you have to do it, irrespective of how bad it is for your position. So 6 3, Gaz has a choice of hits. So don't know why he likes that one. Double 3 is usually good, but we are missing that point in the 3rd quadrant. And that's what David's looking for here. So he's thinking slotting the 5 doesn't look attractive. Playing a 3rd one down doesn't look attractive. So maybe he's thinking of hitting on the 1 point. So that's leaving 1s and 5s, but all those hits involve giving up the anchor or an anchor. So this looks like 2 3, so maybe we just make the 5 point. Yeah, so that's what he's gone for. So 4 3. Again, there doesn't seem to be anything remotely close to a safe play. 4 2 Gaz fans. It's still very difficult for David to bring this position home safely. So 3 5 is a very good start. And covers his blot, puts another one on the bar. And Gaz comes in with 1. David is having a think here. So, as I said earlier on, the question to ask is, do you have enough of a gammon threat to persuade your opponent to pass? I think he's thinking there's a bit more work to do. Yeah, so he'd like to come up with a 2 and forget about the 1. So then he's duplicating the entering 3 with the hitting 3. But if he does come up, he's got to play the 1 to the 14 point, so he leaves a 2 to hit, which he doesn't like. Three, 2 is the hitting number. Well, he got rid of the bad 6s by being on the bar. Okay, 3, 2. So how is Gaz going to extend his prime? So he hasn't got enough checkers to blitz, so he has to make a priming structure. And clearly here, his plan should be to make the prime from the back, not the front. So Gaz has come in again. It's good for him. He was facing a big problem if he stayed out. So it doesn't come out of the 3 point. I would be a bit scared here and bring one of the checkers, one of the blocks in. But White's board is just too scary for me. So I would play 10 to 4 here. 11 to 5 is also reasonable. But Gaz is worried about having too many checkers on the 22 point, so he's wondering whether he should come out. But I think it's just too dangerous. So I think you have to wait for the position on the 5 point to be resolved, whether White covers it or you hit it. So 3, 2, he covers. So now Gaz is in dire straits. So 5, 1. Again, I think he has to play safely. So David's giving this some thought now. So it's not as though he has a threat that he's going to hit anything next time. The problem is that Gaz's position could fall apart when he's forced to move something. So 5, 2, he has to move the checker off the 22. It is a double shot. Right, so he's found something at the bottom of the board. So it's looking very difficult for Gaz to take, but can't afford to leave any shots against this 5 point board. But 6, 3 is a bad roll. These 6s have been bad for a very long time for David. I think he's got to play off the 10 point. That's the only way to leave a single shot, I think. I suppose he could clear the midpoint with 13, 4. Yeah, so this is a very tough play. So I guess it comes down to the fact we can move our existing block to the 8 point. Then we give him 1s and 5s. Or we could clear the midpoint and then we give him 6s and 10s. Or we can clear the 10 point and give him 3s and 7s. So I'm really not sure about which play is right here. So I originally thought that 10 to 4 and 17, 14 was the way to go. So the good bit with these plays is that whenever, most of the time when black hits, he has to break his bar point and create 2 blocks. So then the danger is when you come in and hit him that it's terminal for blue or black. There's also an argument for this clearing the midpoint play, because again, you're leaving 6s to hit that break the bar point. So this looked to me like the worst of the plays. 6, 4, so 6 is forced. 4 comes out as well.
God, my name is Abdul, and I've got to gamble now.
Right, so Gaz has decided there's not enough threat of getting gammoned. 5-2, survived roll 1, so I think now he's happy he's taken. 5-3, does he do that, or does he make his own midpoint? I thought making his midpoint might give him some more shots in the short term. Yeah, so that was again one of these pay now, pay later decisions, and it's like, are you going to leave more shots next time? Again, this is a common problem. So you want to make the 3-point, you want to use those builders to do it, but you know there's a shot coming next time. The 5-2 doesn't play safe, so it's forced to play 13-6, I think. So his choice is leave a shot and clear the midpoint, or just leave a shot and not clear the midpoint. So any 6 is 17 numbers and double 5. So that was half the time he hits. Now Gaz has still got some chances from here. So actually he's got, I think if I remember correctly, something like 15% chance of hitting when he's got the 0.6 away from the block. Yeah, so this is probably a bad play, letting the 6s go past you. So 6-4, 6 is forced, and 4 you have to play behind. 5-1 he's missed, so now it's very much a struggle to save the gammon. The 1-4-1 comes in, is safe, and then that's the safest way to play the 4. So double 2. I'm racing to save the gammon here, so I would play 12-6, and then shuffle one of the outfield checkers. I think it's remote. You're going to hit a shot, and the blot on the 3-point is going to be critical to the game. First, you've got to get the shot, then you've got to hit it, and then he's got to roll the 3. So 2-1 is useless. So a crossover is always good. Three is bad for David here. So now he has a choice how boldly to play it. Yeah, so that looks like a good compromise. You get 2 off and you clear the difficult point. Again, Gaz is being very sparing in pips he's wasting to save the gammon. So 4-3, if we play off the 4-point, we have to leave 3 on the back point. So that degree of safety is what's called for. So Gaz gets his last outfield checker home. So now David clears the back point, and Gaz will run with one of his back checkers, unless he rolls double 1. Right, so I think there's 10 left. So now he's down to 6. So now Gaz has to worry about getting backgammoned. So should save the backgammon. 4-1, yeah, save the backgammon and put them on different places. So the only way you can get off it is David rolls a double 1 and discovers there's some more checkers. That double 4 is a brilliant shot. So 1 home and get yourself ready to save it with a 6. Yeah, so enough doubles in the barrel. But there was always a risk, as I was saying, when Gaz took this cube, there was good winning chances, but always the risk he'd get gammoned. So David is taking a break, right? So at the moment, the time is David has 9 minutes left and Gaz has 12 minutes left. So 8-1 Crawford, 1 away, 8 away. So that's not a score I know. I know 1 away, 7 away is 9% winning chances. So this is probably something like 5% winning chances. Okay, so if they're taking a break for a minute, so will I.
I mean, what else am I gonna? You've got to keep. I don't know. You've got to get back on the horse. You know, it's a bit like a rodeo. Get thrown and then you. I don't know. It must be worse for you because you've got some mathematics facing the whole thing.
Almost never enough. That's why I keep cancelling coming to the event.
Really? So you just throw it rather than try and figure it out. Yes, that's right. Yeah. If you're going to throw this rubbish, it's one for trouble. It's not that great. 640. Well, yeah, yeah. They have to in this game. Referees want the timid.
So they're about to play the Crawford game when they get back. And whenever you play the Crawford game, you want to look at how many points the trailer needs to win the match. So if Gaz wins 1 point the next game, then he'll need 7 points to win the match, and he'll be turning the cube to two every game. So that would be four more games after this one. But if he wins the gammon on this game, then he'll have 3 out of 9. So he'll only need to win three more games. So what that says is the gammons are valuable for black. So Yaz will try to win a gammon, and David will try not to get gammoned. But it's not as though getting gammon costs David the match. So it's not one of these scores where the gammon price is as high as it will ever get. It's, let's say, it's high-ish, but you should still concentrate on winning the game and not care too much about being gammoned. So far from what I've seen of the tournament, it's all been going quite smoothly. So I don't think there's anyone who's turned up for matches an hour late, and certainly the British players seem to have got the hang of setting up the board with all 15 checkers. So one thing I did learn from Monte Carlo is when your opponent for tomorrow asks you what time the match is, you should reply 5 p.m. irrespective of what time it is. So while we've got a pause, I'll say a few words about the board. So the tournament this weekend is sponsored by Art Gammon, and they've provided. I think there's a board for the winner of the tournament, and also there's a special free tournament where you can win a board, irrespective of what happens in the main tournament. So looking at the boards, I'll be honest and say quite frankly, they are very good boards. There doesn't seem to be anything particularly wrong with them at all. So the checkers I like very much with the silver borders to them, and one of the things when you get a board is you always want to check that the checkers actually fit within the board. So if you put checkers on all of the 6 points and they fit neatly, then it's a well designed board. But I've seen boards where you can't really fit in 6 checkers without squeezing them together, or somewhere there's acres of space between them.
Ebbe a kis
Oh wow.
szálba.
He's gone it one up, is he? Is it still going?
Yeah, it is. Szóval ebbe a kis szálba kell átírni az üzenetet. Csak annyit, hogy már most mi van kiírva? Ja, csak annyi, meg a jackpotert
Next match at 7:30 p.m. Mega jackpot. Okay.
Okay.
So while we're waiting, I will mention that I think it was the first match we saw today, Dan Rivera was playing Oliver Squire, and Dan ended up winning. And whenever Dan does the commentary, he always points out his site, Backgammon is Beautiful. And I've looked at a few videos there, and I can say some of them are certainly worth watching. So if you have the time, I would recommend one video there where he interviews Wilcox Snelling, and Wilcox goes through 10 blunders that Bocce made and what could possibly be wrong with his thinking in those plays or what he should be trying to achieve. So you can certainly have a browse through there, and it's certainly worth looking at, I would say. So another thing that's going on in Britain at the moment is they have the Edinburgh Festival, which is kind of newcomers to entertainment who are trying to make an impression. And I think they said there were something like 52,000 performers from 49 countries. And every year they have a competition to the judges decide which is the best joke at the festival. And the winner this year was a man who was describing how he decided to have an adventure and was going to sail round the world in a very small boat, but eventually he lost his nerve and he bottled it. So you can compare that with the best joke I made up over this year, and that is you've probably heard a lot of discussion about assisted dying and the rights and wrongs of it. So I had an idea that if someone would like to set up a company with me, I think we could make a killing. So I can't remember if the breaks in this tournament are meant to be 5 minutes or 15 minutes, but I think they're up to 20 minutes by now. Fortunately, as I said before, the next round doesn't start till 10 tomorrow morning, so there's no great urgency for them to finish this one. But I imagine both of them will have some participation in the tournaments this evening. So at some stage they're going to bother to come back and finish this off, I hope. I did check the video to make sure that David has actually only got 8 points and he didn't win an extra point by mistake. So the score is correct that David is leading 8-1 with the Crawford game to come next, but still no sign of the man. I'm potentially putting the blame on David Brown because I can see his empty chair, but where Gaz is, I don't know either. So I was talking a little about the Crawford game when they walked off, and you can see Gaz needs 8 points. So if he wins a single on the Crawford game, that will give him 1 point. So then he's got 2 out of 9. So he needs another 7. He'll be doubling first roll. So he'll need 4 more single games or their equivalent to win the match. Whereas if he gets a gammon on this game, then he'll be up to 3 out of 9, and he'll only need 3 games at 2 points a time. So the Crawford game is valuable, but as I was saying, it doesn't win the match for him. So it's not a gammon value of 1. So looks like the players are just about turning up. So these Crawford games, it doesn't cost Gaz anything when he gets gammoned. So he has an opportunity to play more back games, more defensive games. So he's starting as a very small favourite in this game, something like 50.5% or something like that. So Gaz starts with 3-1 is the best roll, best opening roll. 6-4, you can split or run or make the 2-point. I think making the 2-point is the worst play here because it's a play that wins lots of gammons, which aren't worth anything. So either split or run is going to be the top play. I think the computer favors the running play. So 6-5. Yeah, so this is a play that's dictated by the score. So rather than just running, Gaz is looking for some more contact, which is going to give him more gammon wins. So 3-1, you can hit, or you can play safe, or you could make the 5-point. And in general, making the 5-point beats most other things. So the problem with the play he was looking at of 24-21 and 14-13, the safe play, is that when you play these running games and they don't work out, you get hit, then the problem is you find you haven't developed your position at all, and you have very few winning chances. So I think the answer is quite clear that you want to make the 5-point now while you can. So this is a mistake, and the magnitude of it, I'm not sure. So 4-2 is perfect. That points on him. So 3-1, he has to come in, and he has to hit because there's no other option. So this gives Gaz a good 6 from the bar. So now you can see the problem with David's plan is that he's virtually back in the starting position. He's got 2 checkers back, and he's got no development at all in the position. So 4-2, Gaz wanted to make the bar point, but he can't. So I think his plan should be to extend his prime from the back. So I think 18-14, 13-11 is the play. Yeah. So this is aiming at the bar point and the 9-point to keep David blocked. The double 1 makes the 5-point for sure, and then he can't make the 7-point safely. So 8-6, I think, is right. And now Gaz would like to make another blocking point, and this doesn't do it. So he should save his block 14-13, and then creep up at the back, so he's got direct exit. So that would be 23-22. Then with the last 2 ones, probably play 8-7 twice. Yeah, so this certainly isn't bad, but like I say, I would like to have had a chance of getting the back checker moving. So 6-1 again, I think David is obliged to play safe and just play 13-6. There's more incentive now to play 13-7, 6-5. So if he gets away with it, he's got a reasonably good priming position. So you can see that's why I like this idea of creeping up with the 1 last time. So 1-6, he can get out, or he can make the bar. There are 2 choices. So making the bar keeps 2 checkers blocked behind a 5', so there's going to be more gammons that way. Double 5. I'm not sure if this is good or bad, but you're pretty much sure that we have to make the 3-point, and then I guess we can remake the 8-point or start blitzing. So perhaps the answer here is you make the 8-point and you go for the priming game. Yeah, so this third one is forced. So now he has the real choice whether to hit or to remake the 8-point. Now this isn't too bad for David. He's still stuck behind the 5', minimises his winning chances, but the fact he's got an anchor means that he can't get closed out, so he's not going to have many gammon losses from this position. So 3-5 hits for sure. And we probably bring another one down to the midpoint. And no dice on checkers. 4-4 comes in and makes the 6'. So he's thinking about playing 6-2 with the 4th one, but I can't see any advantage in that. 4-3 is a point on head. Now maybe Gaz has some bad rolls, so 2-6 will force him to break his prime. 2-3 doesn't seem as though there's much good you can do with it. if you're doing that too, then you have to play 10 to 7. So the problem, I think, with this play is that if you make your prime, you're not going to be able to keep it long enough to win.
Wow.
Right, so 1-6, that is the very worst. So he has to come in, he's stuck behind a prime, and he has to dismantle his own. So now I think David will very happily hit with a 5 that escapes his back checkers and sends another one of Gaz's back. So David seems to have found one of the very few ways to get the advantage back in this game. So now David just needs another 5 to get the back guy out. He's got 6-1 and 6-2 to make a prime, so 4-1 is not the escaping 5, but at least he's got a prime now. So there's the 5 David wanted. So now Gaz's only hope is to make an anchor somewhere and then to hit a shot in the barrel. So in terms of hitting, he's better placed staying on the 24 point. He's more likely to hit. But that means his shot will come a bit later. So he might have to do a lot of damage to his board while he's waiting there. So he's seeing this as the play that he's more likely to have a strong board when he gets his shot. So this looks like double 3. So the question is, do you take the risk and clear both the points, or do you just clear one of them? So you can clear the 8 point and the 7 point, but you leave a couple of shots in the process. So 6-3 and 5-4, so 4 hits. So that's over 10% of the time you get hit. Yeah, so you can clear one of the points, and this one I didn't really like. I thought I preferred keeping the 8 point, because then White has a lot of 6s he doesn't have to play. Now he's got to come in with a 6 and dismantle the prime. So 6-5 is his terrible number here. 5-4 leaves a shot. 5 is forced. So 4 for Gaz will turn the game round again. So he missed that. So 5 tries to maximize builders to fill in the gap. So 6 is bad for David, so he has to expose a second blot and can only save one of them. So 7-5 is minimum shots, 11 shots. If he saves the other blot, it's 13. So 5-3, Gaz misses again. So he has to keep the status quo for the moment, because there's 4 builders can point on him when he breaks the point. So double 6 is great. Well, 4 off with no shots. So now Gaz will probably have to run. Yeah, so 4 filling in the gap. And then I think you have to run. The problem is if you make the board, then you're really aiming to hit the shot for the very next roll. If you don't, then you're going to have some bad numbers where you have to break your board permanently. The double 2 looks forced. You can't take any off. So makes despairing gestures, but he's still way in front in this game. So Gaz needs to get a shot and to hit it, and then still win the game. So 5-1, David is rapidly taking checkers off, so he's got 6 off already. So he's going to have certainly more than that off when he leaves a shot. So now he has 8 off, and Gaz might be forced to run. But he can hang about for one more roll. So David needs a double or a 1 to play safely. 4-5. So now Gaz must hit with a 1 to have any life. So that's it. That's the end of the match. So David goes through as one of the 12 undefeated players tomorrow morning. Right, so thank you all very much for watching, and thank you for the kind comments that some people have written in the side of the video. So if you want to hear me commenting a match again, that will be tomorrow morning. But I rather suspect that the organisers have got other interesting people to do commentary for this evening. And I would suggest you look at the notes from the UK BGF when the next match is. So my guess would be it would be 7:30, but I certainly wouldn't bet any money on that. So once again, thanks very much for watching, and hopefully you'll be back with us tomorrow morning at 10:15, 10:30 is the next match I'll be talking about.